Yeah, let's go.
My name is Sheik Mozart and I'm here to explode important media topics with kids ministry pros. Whether you got a mega budget or just minimal dough. Welcome to the Kids Church Visual Show. Hello and welcome to the Kids Church Visual Show with Sheik Mozart. I'm Sheik Mozart from Church Visuals. This is a show that wants to help you visually communicate the gospel to your kids. In this episode, we're going to be exploring the question, do I need visuals in kids' church? But first, we're going to go live to ask you, do I need visuals in kids' church? Do I need visuals in kids' church? Why or why not?
I think absolutely you need to use visuals, and the thing I like about it, but it also helps tie in everything, like if you're doing a lesson or something too.
Absolutely, you need visuals in kids' church. Kids are visual learners, and it helps anything that you can do that will help their little brains connect and remember things you want to do. So if you aren't using any kind of visuals, even if it's something super, super, super simple, you're doing a disservice to yourself and to the kids because they need those pictures so they can attach those pictures to memories.
Our memories are based on association. So if you can associate a concept with a visual, that can aid in learning and retention. So it's weird to say they're necessary, but I definitely say they're very helpful.
I think the stories of Jesus are pertinent, that even though he didn't always use an actual visual, although I do think the miracles sometimes were the visual object lesson, he would paint a word picture so people saw visuals in their mind, which was obviously much more appropriate back then. So these stories it would tell, people saw what he was talking about when he talked about sowing seeds and the farmer.
Absolutely. You need some sort of visuals in children's ministry. There's a multitude of reasons. One, it keeps kids engaged, whether it's just like seeing what it is. Two, sometimes your children are actually participating with the visuals, holding it. And three, depending on the visual itself, it builds schema. So sometimes kids have a hard time relating to something. So if it's a visual, it helps them to understand what you are actually talking about.
Oh, for sure. It's the way that children learn. I mean, like, it's one way, it's a tool to help them learn. So if you know anything about multiple intelligences, that's one of them. So, yeah.
Yes, I think you absolutely need visuals in kids' church. Kids today are so bombarded with visuals and media, and that's what they're used to. So if we neglect that in the church, I think we're missing out on an opportunity to engage the kids in a way that they're familiar.
Oh, do you need them? Well, that depends on if you want to reach children. So I would say yes, absolutely. I mean, like, if your heart is to communicate something to the child and you want that child to remember it, then absolutely. I think visuals are a must.
Yes, you do. Kids, in my opinion, are very visual learners. So anything to captivate their attention, anything to re-engage their attention span, to aid the teachers in teaching the lesson. Yes, you need church visuals in kids ministry, 100%.
Yes, absolutely. So visuals are necessary. Visuals are necessary regardless, kids church, adult church, but definitely in kids church, from the time they're little, they are raised in a visual processing world anymore. And our brains are visual processing, not word processing. So they're going to retain a whole lot more if you're using visuals, especially good visuals.
You absolutely need visuals in kids' church. Kids are visual, regardless of their learning style. Kids are visual because it's the culture we live in. I mean, no major company out there is saying to themselves, we don't need visuals to appeal to kids. Like, it's crazy to even consider that you wouldn't need visuals to be able to disciple kids.
Recently, I had a conversation with an expert on visuals. Let's check it out. Hello and welcome back to the Kids Church Visual Show with Sheik Mozart. I'm Sheik Mozart, and with me today, I have the great honor of presenting my good friend, David Richards. David has been in kids ministry for over 25 years. He's raised over $1 million for missionaries around the world through kids ministry. He's been a part of so many curriculum and programs and things that the Assemblies of God kids ministry has been doing for years and years and years. David, thanks for being a part of the show. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Hey, cool. Thanks, Sheik, for having me on.
And I didn't mention, of course, that you and I worked together for a year and a half, 2 years.
We had a lot of fun during that time.
David, tell us a little bit about your experience in children's ministry and kind of how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually started out, believe it or not, as a banker back in Minneapolis, and had a pastor ask me to come and be their youth pastor. So my wife and I did youth ministry for a couple of years. And then the church that we started attending after we left youth ministry actually asked me to be their church administrator. And so we did church administration, couples and singles ministry for a few years till I got a phone call to ask me to do kids ministries, children's ministries, which my response was, why would I want to do that? But I had kids pastors when I was growing up. And so I knew kind of what it was all about. And God really just shifted our hearts, and we haven't looked back since then. And so had a great opportunity, started out in Oregon doing kids ministry. And man, talking about aging myself there, but this is back during the time when you could build your own computer. You used a program called PowerPoint, and you were high tech if you could afford a 5-disc CD player to play your worship music for kids church. So
that's right, the spinning ones.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The discs, right? It wasn't electronic, but yeah, just a lot of changes, a lot of influences in my life of different people that I was able to rub shoulders with to kind of be where I'm at today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how did you find that transition going from church administration to kids ministry? What was that process like?
Man, it was difficult. Our first Sunday, we were told that we had a kids ministry team ready to go. They were just waiting for us. Our first Sunday, we show up and not one adult was there for kids church. And we found out is because after 2 years of not having a kids pastor, they're like, oh, good, somebody's here. We can now quit. So our first Sunday was, hey, let's do question and answer time. And it was trial by fire. And my wife, being a school teacher, she kind of threw in some of the teaching stuff. I kind of brought in some of the things I learned in kids ministries, children's ministries growing up. And we kind of made it work. But it was trial by fire because it was something new to me, something I had never experienced before. Being a youth pastor, being in church administration, nothing compares to what kids ministries is today. And but a lot of steps, a lot of process, but we made it happen, and we worked hard to do it. Built a ministry, had a great time, and we even see some of those kids today that are actually serving in the local church around the country.
And I don't want to undersell your creative side too, because you're incredibly creative. In fact, you've pioneered a lot of different programs and curriculum and been a part of a lot of curriculum teams over the years. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I've always been a silent partner. I always kind of kick myself because I've got good friends that they do pretty well because they have developed curriculum. They've written books and things, and I've always kind of been kind of the backseat or the passenger along the way, or if I've driven, I've just kind of been the quiet person. Maybe that's just my personality, even though I do appreciate the pat on the back and the acknowledgement, which I think we all do. But, to be able to be part of some really creative teams, whether it's been teams that have developed programs that have taken trainings around the world, 20 years ago, I was able to go down and join King's Castle down in El Salvador with missionaries down there and help train them in kids ministries and do clowning and storytelling and street ministry. And here they are 20 years later. That is the bread and butter that they do. And when they're ministering to 1 million kids a year, I mean, it's just fantastic to see that progress, to be able to come alongside some other creative leaders and develop curriculum, whether it be sports programs or kids church curriculum or something like that, to be able to just be able to pour into that. I love the creativity part of it because in my mind, I'm a kid at heart, but also at the same time of kind of working with adults, you kind of learn both those worlds. It's good to be childlike, right? Not childish, and to have a little bit of fun. So you bring the excellence into what you do, but bring it to the level of a kid. Man, just powerful resources that we can create and be able to put those together. But, I joke about writing a book. And every time I go to write a book, I've got about 50 pages done. Every page is blank, though. And so as long as you're willing to buy the book, I'm willing to sell it. So
yeah. David, so the main question that we have today is, do I need visuals in kids' church? Why or why not?
Yeah, you definitely need visuals. In fact, I just taught a lesson this past week out of the book of James. Well, James is not like a typical Bible story. But when you're talking about how the importance of James chapter 1 and chapter 2 talks about, looking in a mirror, having a mirror. In fact, I brought in a full-length mirror to have the kids look in it themselves and then use that as part of the illustration. Even having a piece of poster board and writing key words on those things. So you may not have a Bible story that you're able to put costumes on or be able to have the really cool graphics that you're able to put up on a screen. So to have some kind of props even in your hand or have a visual. Craig Jutila, many years ago, he would say, make sure that when, conferences, you want something for the head, the heart, and the hand. Well, I look at the same thing with kids ministries within our teaching. I want to make sure. There are also 7 learning styles. There's probably more nowadays. I don't know, but 7 learning styles. And not everybody is auditory. Not everybody is just visually. Not everybody's mentally. There are some kids hands-on. And so creating a really good visual or having multiple visuals that can kind of hit those different kind of personalities of kids and even age group. And nobody wants to listen to you ramble off for 15, 20, 30 minutes, let alone even 7 minutes of something that they cannot picture in their mind or be able to walk alongside to be able to go back. One of the times when I spent some time in India, I shared with the team, I said, listen, you may be in a village, in a town that has no electricity and no resources. So go out, walk outside right now. You've got 15 minutes, go collect things wherever you can find them on the ground, wherever, put a story together and let's teach this. And I remember one of the students came back and he had 2 sticks and a red string. And he shared the story of Jesus dying on the cross and that blood of Jesus using the red string. And so that visual became powerful with nothing. Otherwise, he could tell the story, but nobody could picture that, especially in a country like India. Who is Jesus, let alone knowing what price he paid. And so visuals I think are very important with that.
Now, you talked a little bit about PowerPoint earlier and how big of a deal that was. Can you kind of, over the history of kids ministry, kind of talk about the impact of being able to show visuals on screen at that point and how it affected the process of doing kids ministry?
You started with overhead projectors.
Right.
Then you had color overhead projector pictures that brought a little bit more up on the screen. And then PowerPoint came. You did clip art, you scanned them and brought them in. And the thing is you were trying to bring those kids along visually of what they were already encountering in schools, the technology that was coming their way. And so by the early 2000s with cell phones that were coming along, how do we start to present visuals that kids could grab on, but not go so crazy because you still want to hold on to some of the old school policies and procedures. I guess that's probably not even the right wording, but you're using the old school format of things. But the visuals that we like to use with PowerPoint, then we bring it into ProPresenter nowadays and the computers that we have, and we throw it up on projectors or even on TV screens. Or we've been blessed that a family in the church actually owns a LED company and donated a huge LED screen for our kids' church stage. but being able to use that PowerPoint and be able to even utilize the kids and the middle schools and high school students to help us along that way to bring that creativity. Visuals are very important with that.
So as you're structuring a kids' church service or experience, what kind of role do these digital media elements play? What kind of impact do they have on the experience?
Yeah, so the experience that we have in our kids' services, I think that whether it's the images that we have up there or the video that we put up on the screen, we even during our worship time, we'll have the video up there with lyrics and also with motions. So we're introducing a brand new song. They play a huge part of what we do in our services because, again, with the different learning styles, I might have one energetic child or something that just the stimulation that comes along with those visuals and the imagination that's created from a still shot that's up on that screen could have more of an impact in their life than having something walking out with a visual that's in my hand, because some of those kids are a little bit more tech savvy than some of the others. I could probably bring out flannel graph and somebody would be so excited wondering how did it stick on that flannel board, right? But that's the same thing with the technology. Not all of our kids are so into tech as much as others. So you've got to have a good mix of visual that does take place in your service.
Do you have like a standard order of service or outline of your services? What does that look like?
Yeah, generally when we put the service together, we always have a countdown because we'll have pre-service activities for the kids to be involved in. We actually have a toy store and a cafe that kids use they use their like Bible bucks, right? Their Kids Town cash. And so they'll go over to the store, they'll go over to the cafe and get a snack or something. But we create those dynamics. So when the kids come in, they've got those, the countdown says, all right, we're starting to shut these down. And so you need to close up the slide. We're done with the video games. No more carpet ball, cafe, all that's closed. Go to the restroom, get a drink of water. We're going to get to our seats. And boom, we hit right with an action song. Really excited. Bring some announcements, hit the offering, kind of hit some of those things at the beginning. Make sure the kids are ready to go. Got to share your rules, of course. And by the way, Sheik, I still hold on to the 3 rules that we had in our kids ministry back in the day, right? We want everyone, no talking when a leader's talking, keep your hands and your feet to yourself and have fun. I mean, simple rules, just let them know. And then we do the intro. And so with the materials we're using, we use Bible Engagement Project with the Assemblies of God. And what's been awesome about that is they've got some intro videos we can use. We have a character that comes out and introduces our faith verse. And we have our we'll flow into kind of an intro into the Bible story, into some more teaching time, using more visuals as well, hands-on things. Might be using some Bible character costumes along with maybe some props or other things that kids can kind of see or even touch. And then we start to do the response time. We slow it a little bit more, have some more slower worship music, and allow a response time, allow the Holy Spirit to move with the kids and allow them to encounter Jesus, not just through the teaching and not just hearing, like James says, but also doing. And so we want them to kind of experience that. And then we have a wrap up time and finish it off with an exciting song before we send them home.
Oh, so you end with a big song.
Absolutely. You got to celebrate what God's doing in your life. And that's when we open the doors. The parents are lined up to pick up their kids, and they hear their kids singing and worshiping at a powerful, fun song. And the kids are like, yeah, they're on their way out. We don't have to give them sugar at the end of this service, okay?
If I could recommend a song, I would say Hee Haw, I'm a Donkey by, I won't, he's a guy I know that made it. I don't, you know him as well, but we don't have to.
No, we don't have to go there.
Yeah, we'll put a link in the description. And so do you have screens going throughout the entire service?
Yeah, we do. We actually we're blessed with this. Again, we have this big LED screen in the back that allows us to create our backdrop, and then we have 2 projector screens on the sides that will then allow us to be able to project all the visuals up there, including all the worship songs, the lyrics, any announcements that we have, intro, ending videos. It allows us to do that. So a lot going on. Again, if that power goes out, my team is ready to actually become those visuals up on the stage, even if it's in the dark.
Yeah, and it's so important to have the balance, because I think that, I think there is something to be said about the fact that we are losing a bit of human connection, and so to have people present who are teaching and interacting, I think that's so important. What kind of a team do you have to run all the media?
So we actually train our fourth and fifth graders in our worship team and our tech team. And a lot of them have stuck around, and we have middle school and high school. So literally our middle school and high school and our fourth and fifth graders, they run our worship team as well as our media team. And so we actually stream our elementary services. So we've got cameras, we've got the light board, we've got the sound board, we have the screens, we have confidence monitors. So if there's certain points we want to have put up on, to remember our lessons, as we're teaching, we've got monitors that are up on the stage so that the worship team, if they're forgetting motions, they're able to actually see that, as well as the screens for the kids to be able to watch. We've got a lot going on just to motivate that. But with our teams, I guess our students that are running the media, they keep it going. We run the services through YouTube. We, like I mentioned, that we stream right now as well. And so there's a lot of different components that come with that. But again, this is not to make us look good. This is a discipleship, because they are the generation that will then be in that sanctuary or even in youth ministry to be able to do all those things.
It's amazing to see how the simple act of putting a kid behind a computer can really have such an incredible impact on their lives. That gives them a reason to be at the church, that gives them a reason to connect with what God is doing and the service and all that. And so do you have a process for getting people involved in that team?
Yeah, one of the things that we do, we always have kids, when they're interested, we have them shadow. So they'll shadow either our adult leaders, they'll shadow some of our middle school, high school students as well. We want to make sure that everyone that serves in our ministry, whether it's a student or adult, that they're on the right seat, not just on the right bus, but in the right seat. And so we have them shadow. And then if they are interested, we have them get a little bit more hands with the media, with the worship team. And then we actually do testing with them as well. We want to make sure that they understand the process of it. We want to make sure that if they're running the media and they're one of the producers or the directors in the booth, that they're actually going between the cameras and they're having the stream and they're following along and they're using Pro Presenter up to the next one and they're guiding and things like that. We want to make sure that they understand the flow of it. And it's not just the technical knowledge, but it's also really watching what's taking place on the stage. If that microphone goes out, the question is, are they muted up there? Did a battery die? I mean, they have to look at every part of it. Again, that's where the administrative part comes in, right? We talked about that earlier. You have to be aware of it, not just the creativity, but you have to look at every aspect of it. But once they go through all the training, once they really learn it, we put them in some really important roles. And we've even had our sanctuary team actually come and say, hey, we need 2 camera operators. And so they'll go in and they're ready to go. We've lost a couple, right? I don't know if we've lost. We've promoted a couple of them into the adult service. And even some of our tech kids are now in youth ministry, and they're helping run the tech board and the computers and everything else in youth services too.
Yeah. So really what you're doing is empowering the entire church body.
Yes. It's all about discipleship. Discipleship is not just teaching a lesson on the stage. Discipleship is letting them live ministry with us to really understand what it is to serve. Because you can teach me all day long and I can listen to you all day long, but until you actually put it into action, it's not going to go very far with that.
So I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about kind of your relationship with church visuals, because you've been kind of a long time customer, partner. Tell me about how you came to know what Church Visuals is.
Yeah, so church visuals, when they first started coming out, it was kind of quiet. Not a lot of people knew things, but the creativity with that was really was what got my attention. In kids ministries, we're always looking for creative graphics that have excellence and cater to the kids, the young audience that we serve, but not childish. I'm not looking for kiddie little kid stuff. I'm looking for high quality stuff that pops, but yet it's kid friendly. And I've run into a lot of graphic artists that were like, "Oh yeah, I can do this," and you feel like you're spinning your wheels sometimes because they're not thinking about really the audience that I'm trying to reach. And that's what I love about church visuals, is because they get it. They understand really what the thinking and the process of kids, as well as the leaders of kids ministries, really need to be part of. So we jumped on, and I started getting some of the free stuff that they offered, and then I started downloading a few, and we finally got to the point. It was like, I need more visuals, I need better graphics for what we're doing with our kids church curriculum in kids services, to compete with, because if I can say this, we really have landed on using Bible Engagement Project resources. We really like those resources. We love the material, the curriculum. It's within our Fellowship of the Assemblies of God that we really appreciate. And I've used others, and they're all good quality, but something about the BEP materials and resources really speaks to what we want, how the Holy Spirit really moves and directs the kids that we minister to. It works for us. But we wanted the quality and the excellence that a lot of the other curriculum resources were offering. And so we went to Church Visuals, and the team has been fantastic since then. So we're in our second year of them creating the resources that fit the curriculum packages that we've put together. And it has complemented it to the point, I'm going to share this, man. It's complemented to the point, not only the visuals that we put on the screens, but we also create a devotional take home that is either digital or paper format for our families. So then preschool and elementary are talking about the same thing going home. Parents aren't asking close-ended questions. They're asking open-ended questions because of this resource. And then even creating a bookmark utilizing the graphics that the kids can actually use that Bible bookmark in their Bibles to make sure that they're following along with the stories. It has been a home run win for us.
How far in advance do you decide what visuals you're going to have on screen?
Yeah, so we are already, we're working on at least 2-3 months ahead. In fact, I'm already working on all of the next year, 12 months of resources and materials. We're breaking it. We're creating the themes. We start to pull out what visuals we're going to have, if it's going to be digital, if it's going to be costumes, if it's a character that comes out along with it. And so we're always thinking, you never want to look just a week in advance. You want to be a couple of months in advance to start to put those together, because you may get a couple weeks down the road and go, you know what, it's really not going to work because maybe the Spirit's kind of moving you a different direction. Otherwise, you're stuck pushing something. Or if you realize I can't use that visual, then all of a sudden you're trying to talk for 45 minutes. And so you have to really plan out well in advance, enough in advance. And when we use church visuals, we're already 4 or 5 months out before we actually do the lessons, because we want to make sure it fits the theme, it fits the service, it fits the week, it fits the time slot. And if you have to move it, you get to move it. Otherwise, you can be stuck with it if you don't.
And do you have a process for picking the stuff that you're going to use?
Yeah, so I've got a team of I've got a couple of preschool leaders. I've got a couple of elementary leaders as well, and we meet quarterly and we talk about all the themes. We talk about each lesson. We talk about the different characters. We'll talk about the visuals that we'll want to bring along, And then each of those teams will actually start to work on their own areas. And then we assign the teaching lesson to different leaders within that team as well. And so they know a month or a quarter out of when they will be teaching the lesson. And then they start preparing and making sure they have everything that they need going into that. So it's a team effort.
So to kind of start wrapping it up, what are some final thoughts you have on using media, using visuals in kids' church, the kind of impact that it has and the importance of it overall?
Yeah, it's easy to be a micromanager and try to do it all yourself. And it doesn't matter what size church you're at. I mean, I was at a church of 40 all the way to a church of 7,000. And so, but you always need to bring others along. If you try to do it all by yourself, you're going to miss a lot of things, because I love how God starts to talk to those that serve with us. Sometimes we're not listening because we're too focused on the task at hand and not always being receptive. So I guess the final thought that I have with visuals, with things like that, is make sure that you bring others along with you, others that speak the same DNA that you do with kids ministries, but also others that have a little bit different creativity. Sheik, I know that when you and I were working together, there were times that I'm like, okay, here's what we're going to teach. Here's what we're going to do. And then, man, you took the projects, or you took the lessons and you ran with it. You came back and go, hey, what do you think of this? And I'm like, I love it. I love it. And I know that's we have people like that in our services. And so make sure you're using the team. It is a team effort. It's not a Lone Ranger effort. And if you don't have adults, then start tapping into those 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, because I had a 5th grader in Oregon that actually created a website for our kids ministry. I didn't have adults. That could think that level. And I had a 5th grader actually put a website together for our ministry. And so you got to look at all different areas of ministry. You got to look at all different ages, creativity, but always, always, always work on putting a team together to help you out with this. It's not a Lone Ranger.
If people want to reach out to you, people want to connect with you, where can they find you? Where can they see the streams, your Sunday morning streams?
Yeah. If they want to, I'll tell you, they're not that exciting. I'll be honest with you, because we stream it in case the kids miss it or something like that. We came out of COVID that way, right? But we do it for us to really kind of go back and say, okay, what do we need to work on? What do we need to do along with this? So sometimes I'm hesitant in giving that information out because it's not, but we don't play for the camera. We do it for the kids that are in the service itself. But if you go to, we're at CLA Kids on YouTube, CLA Kids, CLA Kids Ministries on social media. Those are ways that you can find us. But, just looking that way, and you can kind of glance or look at it. And by the way, I have a 5th grader that actually does the editing for our YouTube services, because an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes is way too long to watch. And we're doing different preliminary things at the beginning of our services as well. But they go in and they edit them and try to bring them down to at least 45 minutes to an hour. So it's at least gives you a little bit of insight of what we're trying to do and make it happen. So hopefully that helps a little bit.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, David. Thank you for all that you do and for taking the time to talk to us.
Sheik, thanks for this opportunity, man. Really appreciate it. It's great to work with you again.
Thank you for joining us on the Kids Church Visual Show with Sheik Mozart. I'm Sheik Mozart, and I want you to know your Kids Church visuals matter. Have you ever watched someone solve a Rubik's Cube? Their hands are a blur of motion as they work out algorithms and patterns that they've spent hours memorizing. As a ministry leader, I often get pulled in countless different directions, and I'm asked to do things that I've never done before. While sometimes that can be exciting, there are times when that burns me out. And maybe you feel burned out from trying to make your kids' church look better and better, but not having the tools, team, or expertise to do so. That's why our team is here. We can provide you with all the visual tools that you need to create an amazing kids' church experience. Let us do what we do best, so that you can do what you do best. Reach and disciple the next generation of Christ followers. This has been a podcast presentation of Church Visuals. Executive produced by Carl Barnhill. Hosted and edited by Sheik Mozart. Professional Rubik's Cube provided by Jacob Barnhill. Title and show graphics by Jason Merritt. For more training to help you visually communicate the gospel in your children's ministry, visit churchvisuals.com.